This is Dr. Morris. I'm doing an exam review for the lecture in the lab for the lymphatic system. I'll start with the laboratory portion of the exam and then I'll move to the lecture portion of the exam. For the laboratory portion of the exam, this picture is out of your textbook. I would expect you to be able to identify this key structure in the lymphatic system. This is referred to as the thoracic duct. Should be able to identify that. And then its most inferior aspect you should be able to identify. This is referred to as the cisterna chili. So again, the thoracic duct and the cisterna chili. You should also be able to identify this lymphatic structure as well. This is referred to as the right lymphatic duct. The right lymphatic duct. So three primary structures in the lymphatic system. First, the thoracic duct. The next one, the cisterna chili, which is the inferior aspect of this lymphatic vessel, the thoracic duct. And then you should also be able to identify the right lymphatic duct. Also, and excuse the blurriness of the picture, you should also recognize what is drained in the lymphatic system by the thoracic duct and by the right lymphatic duct. As you can see, the right lymphatic duct drains all the aspect of the body that is in the right upper quadrant, which includes the right portion of the head, the right portion of the chest above the diaphragm, and the right arm. The thoracic duct drains lymphatic vessels from the left side of the head, the left torso of the body or left chest, the left arm, and all of the lower portion of the body below the level of the diaphragm. So you should be familiar with the drainage aspects of the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. That ends the laboratory portion for the lymphatic system. I'll move into the lecture portion of the material that you should be familiar with for the purposes of the examination. You should be able to identify the general lymphatic structures. For example, what structures make up the lymphatic system? You should recognize lymphatic vessels, spleen, tonsils, lymph nodes, lymph fluid, all as components of the lymphatic system. So you should be familiar with the structures of, or the components of, the lymphatic system. You should know what the primary function of the lymphatic system is. You should know the difference between lymphatic vessels and the difference between blood vessels. Again, you should know the difference between lymphatic vessels and blood vessels. Structurally, how do they differ? Again, as I referred to on the laboratory portion of the review, you should know what aspects of the body are drained by the thoracic duct, what aspects of the body are drained by the right lymphatic duct. You should be familiar with the structure, the cisterna chili. You should know the role or function of lymph nodes. You should know the role and function of the thymus gland, and then you should know developmentally how the thymus gland changes over time. At what point does the thymus gland reach its greatest size relative to the body? You should know at what point does the thymus gland undergo involution. You should know the location of the thymus gland. You should know the function of lymphocytes. What specific proteins are produced by lymphocytes. You should know what lymphatic tissues house lymphocytes, if I said that correct. You should know what tissue structures contain lymphocytes, where they're located at. You should know the name of the lymphatic structures that you see in the posterior oropharynx. You should know what lymphatic tissue you see in the gastrointestinal tract, specifically what are Peyer's patches. You should know the term lymphadenopathy. The term lymphadenopathy. You should know where the largest collection of lymphatic tissue located in the human body. The largest collection of lymphatic tissue in the human body, where that is located at. You should know what the term non-specific defenses refer to. Non-specific defenses, what that refers to. You need to know what chemicals are involved, what chemicals produced inside the body are responsible for an inflammatory response. For example, histamines, serotonins, what chemical substances produced in the body, particularly by mast cells, M-A-S-T cells, mast cells, what chemical substances are released in the body as a part of the inflammatory response. You need to know what signs are seen by the release of interleukin-1. The release of interleukin-1 by active macrophages produces a particular type of symptom that's seen in the human body. You should be able to know that. You need to know what the term specific defenses, what that means. You need to know what the characteristics of specific defenses are. You need to know what the term specific immunity refers to. You need to know the role of phagocytes. The role of phagocytes. You need to know what is meant by the term complement system. And you need to know the general effects of activating the complement system. You need to know the term innate immunity. You need to know the term active immunity. You need to know the term natural passive immunity. You need to know what's meant by active immunization. What is meant by active immunization? You need to know the role of plasma cells. Primary responsibility in the production of circulating antibodies. The role of plasma cells. You need to know what the term humoral immunity refers to, humoral immunity, and what specific cells are responsible for humoral immunity. You need to know where the stem cells for the lymphatic system, specifically for B cells and natural killer cells, you need to know where the stem cells for both B cells and natural killer cells are located at in the human body. You need to know the role and function of cytotoxic T cells. You need to know the role of natural killer cells. You need to know the term immunoglobulins. And there were, I guess, 5 different types of immunoglobulins that we talked about in the lymphatic system. That includes IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, and IgM. You need to know which of these immunoglobulins primarily responsible for resistance against virus, bacteria, or bacterial toxin. Which immunoglobulin is primarily responsible for resistance against viruses, bacteria, and bacterial toxins. You need to know which one of those immunoglobulins is primarily responsible for mediation of allergic reactions. These particular immunoglobulins will attach to mast cells and basophils and are particularly involved in allergic reactions. You need to know which immunoglobulin, IgA, D, E, G, or M, which one of those is primarily involved in allergic reactions. You need to know what occurs when an antigen binds to an antibody. What's the process that occurs when an antigen, which is a foreign invader, binds to one of the antibodies? What occurs? Neutralization, agglutination, complement activation. Those are some of the things that are involved. There are a couple other steps involved in that, but you should be familiar with what occurs when an antigen binds to an antibody. You need to know which antibody or immunoglobulin normally crosses the placental membrane. With IgA, IgD, IgE, or IgG, which antibody normally crosses the placental membrane? You need to know where newborn infants gain most of their immunity from. Newborn infants, where do they gain most of their immunity from? You need to know the term autoantibodies or autoimmune, what that refers to. Autoantibody or autoimmune. You need to know what the term allergy refers to. You need to know how stress affects the immune system. You need to know what inflammation mediators are. Inflammation mediators are. I'll give you an example. Histamines. Give you another example. Prostaglandins. And inflammation mediators. There are about 3 or 4 inflammation mediators. You need to be familiar with those. You need to know the definition of an antigen. Definition of an antigen. You need to know the disease condition lupus. Lupus erythematosus. You need to know what that disease condition is, what specific type of disease that refers to. You need to know what particular line of cells is attacked by human immunodeficiency virus. What specific cell line is attacked by a human immunodeficiency virus. You need to be able to know the difference between immunodeficiency and autoimmune. The differences between immunodeficiency and autoimmune. You need to know the definition of titer, T-I-T-E-R. You need to know the definition of toxoid. Definition of titer and the definition of toxoid. You need to know the general characteristics of inflammation. General characteristics of inflammation. That concludes the review for the lymphatic system. You know that material, you should be prepared for the exam. Thank you.